Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Idiot Book Nook podcast. My name is Blazewing and my pronouns are she, her, and they, them.
I am the Reading Dragon and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Lady Punnet. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. I am eating a snack and I do apologize and I will not make any noise like last episode when you guys could hear me trying to clean up all the wrappers.
You're good.
You're good.
We are...
At least that is not as loud.
I was trying to be all discreet and stuff, and then I noticed that Blazewing stopped talking altogether. I'm like, oh, did I cut out or something? And I look and you guys are just staring at me.
We are three ADHD-addled brains trying to make it through stories in order to read through them and have discussion. Sometimes we stay on track, sometimes we don't. We go off on wild tangents. It's absolutely hilarious. I've been told to sit down and listen to us talk. But if you'd like to follow us on social medias and find out what our individual projects are, you can follow Lady Punnet at lanktr.ee/paulina.avalon. You can follow The Reading Dragon at lanktr.ee/thereadingdragon, and you can follow myself at lanktr.ee/blazewing2010. If you would like to take a look at our podcast feed and or leave us a voice message for viewer/listener feedback episodes, you are more than welcome to do so at anchor.fm/idiot-book-nook. And if you'd like to take a look at our website, which should link to pretty much everything we got going at the moment, you can find that at idiotbooknook.wordpress.com.
Woo! Yay!
So yeah, we are three ADHD-addled brains that try to stay on track as we read through stories and have discussions. Sometimes it's hilarious. Other times it's just, where the fuck are you going with this? And basically it's ADHD in all its glory.
Sometimes it gets real philosophical.
It can. Yeah, absolutely. That being said, we are coming up on Chapter 11 of the Amulet of Samarkand, which is the first book in the Bartimaeus Trilogy series. This is Chapter 11 and Episode 27. Narrator, please take it away.
The Bartimaeus Trilogy, Book 1, The Amulet of Samarkand, written by Jonathan Stroud, narrated by the Reading Dragon, voice acted by the Reading Dragon, Blazewing 2010, and Lady Punnet. Chapter 11. Downstairs. Well, that was surprising. Framing your master, are you? Nasty.
I'm not framing him. I just want it safe beyond whatever security he's got. No one's going to find it there.
He paused.
But if they do...
You'll be in the clear. Typical magician's trick. You're learning faster than most.
No one's going to find it.
You think not? We'll see. Still, I couldn't float there gossiping all day. I encased the amulet with a charm, rendering it temporarily small and giving it the appearance of a drifting cobweb. Then I sank through a knothole in the nearest plank, snaked as a vapor through the empty floor space, and in spider guise crawled cautiously out of a crack in the ceiling of the room below. I was in a deserted bathroom. The door was open. I scurried toward it along the plaster as fast as 8 legs could carry me. As I went, I shook my mandibles at the effrontery of the boy. Fraying another magician. That wasn't double. That was part and parcel. It came with the territory. Framing your own master, though, Now that was out of the ordinary. In fact, possibly unique in a wizardling of 12. Sure, as adults, magicians fell out with ridiculous regularity, but not when they were starting off. Not when they were just being taught the rules. How was I sure the magician in question was his master?
Hold on a second.
There's a footnote.
Oh,
Magicians.
Sorry.
Magicians are the most conniving, jealous,
duplicitous
group of people on Earth, even including lawyers and academics. They worship power and the wielding thereof, and seek every chance they can to undercut their rivals. At a rough guess, about 80% of all summons have to do with carrying out some
skullduggery
against a fellow magician, or even defense against the same. By contrast, most I'm sorry, it's kind of small.
Confrontations.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The 1 second, it's doing weird things.
You're good.
Where am I? Went too far down.
Technology is great when it's just working the way you need it to.
Where am I? That is an excellent question. Shoot, where is it?
Do you want me to finish it for you?
No, I got it. It went too far up when I made it bigger so I could actually read the stupid thing.
Okay.
Give me a moment. Here we go. Confrontations between... I'm going to restart that. By contrast, most confrontations between spirits aren't personal at all. Simply because they do not occur of our own free will. At that moment, for instance, I do not dislike Farquaad particularly. Well, actually, that's a lie. I loathe him, but no more than I had before. Anyways, our mutual hatred had taken many centuries, indeed millennia, to build up. Magicians squabble for fun. We really had to work at it.
Damn. How was I sure the magician in question was his master? Well, unless age-old practices were now being dropped and apprentices were being bussed off to boarding school together, hardly likely, there was no other explanation. Magicians hold their knowledge close to their shriveled little hearts, coveting its power the way a miser covets gold, and they will only pass it on with caution. Since the days of the Median Magi, students have always lived alone in their mentor's house, one master to one pupil, conducting their lessons with secrecy and stealth. From ziggurat to pyramid, from sacred oak to skyscraper, thousands of years pass, and things don't change. To sum up, then, it seemed that to guard his own skin, this ungrateful child was risking bringing the wrath of a powerful magician down upon his innocent master's head. I was very impressed. Even though he had to be in cahoots with an adult, some enemy of his master, presumably. It was an admirably twisted plan for one so young. I did an 8-fold tiptoe out of the door. Then I saw the master. I had not heard of this magician, this Mr. Arthur Underwood. I assumed him, therefore, to be a minor conjurer, a dabbler in fakery and mumbo-jumbo, who never dared disturb the rest of higher beings such as me. Certainly, as he passed underneath me into the bathroom. I had evidently exited just in time. He fit the bill of second-rater. A sure sign of this was that he had all the time-honored attributes that other humans associate with great and powerful magic. A mane of unkempt hair, the color of tobacco ash, a long whitish beard that jutted outward like the prow of a whip, and a pair of particularly bristly eyebrows. I can imagine him stalking through the streets of London in a black velveteen suit, hair billowing behind him in a sorcerous sort of way. He probably flourished a gold-tipped cane, maybe even a swanky cape. Yes, he'd look the part then, all right. Very impressive. As opposed to now, stumbling along in his pajama bottoms, scratching his unmentionables, and sporting a folded newspaper under his arm.
Lady Punnet, you can take that if you want.
Okay. Minor magicians take pains to fit this traditionally wizardly bill. By contrast, the really powerful magicians take pleasure in looking like accountants. Wait. What kind of accountants are we talking about?
This is before spicy accountants were a thing, thank you very much.
This is a non-spicy accountant. Vanilla.
I'm sorry, but I still picture like actual like some powerful wizards actually looking like accountants.
Spicy.
Martha.
I mean,
oh,
he called just before closing the bathroom door. A small, spherical female emerged from the bedroom. Thankfully, she was fully dressed.
Yes, dear?
I thought you said that woman cleaned yesterday.
Yes, she did, dear. Why?
Because there's a grubby cobweb dangling from the middle of the ceiling with a repellent spider shulking in it. Loathsome. She should be sacked.
Oh, I see. How foul. Don't worry, I'll speak with her. And I'll get the duster to it shortly.
The great magician humphed and shut the door. The woman shook her head in a forgiving manner, and, humming a light-hearted ditty, disappeared downstairs. The loathsome spider made a rude sign with two of its legs, and set off along the ceiling, trailing its cobweb behind it. It took several minutes, scuttering, before I located the entrance to the study at the bottom of a short flight of stairs. And here I halted. The door was protected against interlopers by hex in the form of a 5-pointed star. It was a simple device. The star appeared to consist of flaking red paint. However, if an unwary trespasser opened the door, the trap would be triggered and the paint would revert to its original state, a ricocheting bolt of fire. Sounds good, I know, but it was pretty basic stuff, actually. A curious housemaid might be frazzled, but not Bartimaeus. I erected a shield around me, and, touching the base of the door with a tiny claw, instantly sprang back a couple of feet. Thin orange streaks appeared within the red lines of the 5-pointed star. For a second, the lines coursed like liquid, racing around and around the shape. Then a jet of flame. Hold on. I lost my spot. Sorry. Then a jet of flame burst from the star's uppermost point, rebounded off the ceiling, and speared down toward me. I was ready for the impact on my shield, but it never took place. The flame bypassed me altogether, hit the cobweb I was trailing, and the cobweb sucked it up, drawing the fire from the star like juice through a straw. In an instant, it was over. The flame was gone. It had disappeared into the cobweb, which remained as cool as ever. In some surprise, I looked around. A charcoal black star was seared into the wood of the sturdy door. As I watched, the hex began to redden slowly. It was reassembling its charge for the next intruder. I suddenly realized what had happened. It was obvious. The Amulet of Samarkand had done what amulets are supposed to do. It had protected its wearer.
Can you stop it?
Very nicely, too. It had absorbed the hex without any trouble whatsoever.
Stop it.
That was fine by me. I removed my shield and squeezed myself beneath the door into Underwood's study.
Amulets are protective charms. They fend off evil. They are passive objects, and although they can absorb or deflect all manner of dangerous magics, they cannot be actively controlled by their owner. They are thus the opposite of talismans, which have active magical powers that can be used at their owner's discretion. A horseshoe is a primitive amulet. 7-league boots are a form of talisman.
Interesting. Beyond the door, I found no further traps on any of the planes. Another sign that the magician was of a fairly low order. I recalled the extensive network of defenses that Simon Lovelace had rigged up, and which I'd broached with such easy panache. If the boy thought that the amulet would be safe behind his master's security, he had another thing coming. The room was tidy, if dusty, and contained, among other things, a locked cupboard that I guessed housed his treasures. I entered via the keyhole, tugging the cobweb in my wake. Once inside, I performed a small illumination. A pitiful array of magical gimcracks were arranged with loving care on 3 glass shelves. Some of them, such as the tinker's purse, with its secret pocket for making coins vanish, were frankly not magical at all. It made my estimate of second-rater seem overly generous. I almost felt sorry for the old buffer. For his sake, I hoped Simon Lovelace never came at all. Javanese bird totem at the back of the cupboard, its beak and plumes gray with dust. Underwood obviously never touched it. I pulled the cobweb between the purse and an Edwardian rabbit foot and tucked it behind the totem. Good. No one would find it there unless they were really hunting. Finally, I on it, restoring it to its normal amulet-y size and shape. With that, my assignment was complete. All that remained was to return to the boy. I exited cupboard. All that remained was to return to the boy. I exited cupboard and study without any hiccups and set off back upstairs. This was where it got interesting. I was heading up to the attic room again, of course, using the sloping ceiling above the stairs, when unexpectedly the boy passed me coming down. He was trailing in the wake of the magician's wife, looking thoroughly fed up. Evidently, he had just been summoned from his room. I perked up at once. This was bad for him, and I could see from his face that he realized it too. He knew I was loose, somewhere nearby. He knew I would be coming back, that my charge had been to return to him immediately, silent and unseen, to await further instructions. He knew I might therefore be following him now, listening and watching, learning more about him, and that he couldn't do anything about it until he got back to his room again with a pencil. In short, he had lost control of the situation. A dangerous state of affairs for any magician. I swiveled, followed eagerly in their wake. True to my charge, no one saw or heard me as I crept along behind. The woman led the boy to a door on the ground floor.
"He's in there, dear,"
she said.
No, 1 second, I seem to have lost. Also,
Look at this distinguished gentleman.
Just give me a second.
Mm-hmm. What a handsomely distinguished gentleman, yeah.
This is such a distinguished I'm sorry for the podcast, they can't see, but I have my cat sitting in my lap. And he is the most distinguished of gentlemen because I just finished brushing him. And he has toe beans.
Yep.
He has interesting toe beans.
He's loving those cuddles.
Right.
This kid loves cuddles. Nugget, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The boy said.
His
voice was nice and disputant. Just how I like it. They went in. Woman first, boy second. The door shut so fast that I had to do a couple of quick-fire shots of web to trapeze myself through the crack before it closed. It was a great stunt. I wish someone had seen it. But no, silent and unseen. That's me. We were in a gloomy dining room. The magician, Arthur Underwood, seated alone at the head of a dark and shiny dining table, with cup, saucer, and silver coffee pot close to hand. He was still occupied with his newspaper, which lay folded in half on the table. As the woman and the boy entered, he picked up the paper, unfolded it, turned the page crisply, and smacked the whole thing in half again. He didn't look up. The woman hovered near the table.
"Arthur, Nathaniel's here,"
she said. The spider had backed its way into a dark corner of the door. On hearing these words, it remained motionless, as spiders do, but inwardly it thrilled. Nathaniel, good! That was a start. I had the pleasure of seeing the boy wince. His eyes flitted to and fro, no doubt wondering if I was there. The magician gave no sign that he had heard, but remained engrossed in the paper. His wife began rearranging a rather sorry display of dried flowers over the mantelpiece. I guessed then who was responsible for the vase in the boy's room. Dead flowers for the husband, fresh ones for the apprentice. That was intriguing. Again, Underwood unfolded, turned, smacked the paper, resumed his reading. The boy stood silently waiting. Now that I was free of the circle, and thus not under his direct control, I had a chance to assess him more clinically. He had removed his raggedy coat and was soberly dressed in grey trousers and a jumper. His hair had been wetted and was slicked back. A sheaf of papers was under his arm. He was a picture of quiet deference. He had no obviously defining features, no moles, no oddities, no scars. His hair was dark and straight. His face tended toward the pinched. His skin was very pale. To a casual observer, he was an unremarkable boy. But to my wiser and more jaundiced gaze, there were other things to note. Shrewd and calculated fingers that tapped impatiently on the papers he held. Most of all, a very careful face that by subtle shifts took on whatever expression was expected of it. For the moment, he had adopted a submissive but attentive look that would flatter an old man's vanity. Yet, continually, he cast his eyes around the room, searching for me. I made it easy for him. When he was looking in my direction, I gave a couple of small scuttles along the wall, waved a few arms, wiggled my abdomen in a cheery fashion. He saw me straight off, went paler than ever, bit his lip. Couldn't do anything about me, though, without giving his game away.
I would just like to point out, it sounds like he was twerking. And now I can't get the image of a spider twerking out of my head. So now you guys...
You go ahead.
So now you guys must live with that image in your heads too, since I had to suffer through it.
See, originally I was thinking of those like really colorful tropic spiders that like do their little like mating dance and make their abdomens look like a little what is it? Rattle or something like that. And it's really cute and it's really fun, and with their color and their fluff, it's cute, super cute. But now I have that in my head. Thank you. And now it's mixing together to be super colorful spiders twerking.
I have a cat.
And it's a good kitty cat. And it runs, dance, and runs, dance.
Well, he can't dance right now. He's currently sleeping. But continuing on, because we're on a time crunch.
It's so cute. I'm sorry. In the middle of my dance, Underwood suddenly grunted dismissively, slapped the back of his hand against his paper.
See here, Martha,
he said.
Makepeace is filling the theaters again with his Eastern piffle, Swans of Araby. I ask you, did you ever hear of such sentimental claptrap? And yet it's sold out until the end of January. Quite bizarre.
It's all booked up. Oh, Arthur, I'd rather wanted to go.
And I quote, in which a sweet-limbed missionary lass from Chiswick falls in love with a tawny Ginny. It's not just romantic nonsense, it's damnably dangerous too. Spreads misinformation to the people.
Oh, Arthur.
You've seen Gin, Martha. Have you seen one with dusky eyes that will melt your heart? Melt your face, maybe.
I'm sure you're right, Arthur.
Makepeace should know better. Disgraceful. And do something about it, but he's in too deep with the Prime Minister.
Yes, dear. Would you like more coffee, dear?
No. The PM should be helping out my internal affairs department rather than socializing his time away. 4 more thefts, Martha. 4 in the last week. Valuable items they were, too. I tell you, we're going to the dogs.
So saying, Underwood lifted his mustache with one hand and expertly passed the lip of his cup underneath. He drank long and loudly.
Martha, this is cold. Fetch more coffee, will you?
Bitch?
She is not a dog, sir.
I can't help it, I'm just reading what's on the page.
I know.
With good grace, the wife bustled off on her errand. As she As she exited, the magician tossed his paper to one side and deigned to notice his pupil at last. Finally, the old man grunted.
So, you're here, are you?
Despite his anxiety, the boy's voice was steady.
Yes, sir. You sent for me, sir? I did indeed. Now, I've been speaking to your teachers, and with the exception of Mr. Sindra, all have satisfactory reports to make on you.
He held up his hand to silence the boy's prompt articulations of thanks.
Heaven knows you don't deserve it after what you did last year. However, despite certain deficiencies to which I have repeatedly drawn your attention, you have made some progress with the central tenets. Thus,
a dramatic pause.
I feel that the time is right for you to conduct your first summons. About that!
About that!
About that!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I spook you, baby? I'm sorry.
Oh, baby. He uttered this last sentence in a slow, resounding tone that were evidently designed to fill the boy with awe. But Nathaniel, as I was now so delighted to call him, was distracted. He had a spider on his mind. His unease was not lost on Underwood. The magician rapped the table peremptorily to attract his pupil's attention.
Listen to me, boy,
he said.
If you fret at the very prospect of a summons, you will never make a magician even now. A well-prepared magician fears nothing. Do you understand?
The boy gathered himself, fixed his attention on his master.
Yes, sir. Of course, sir. Besides, I shall be with you at all times during the summoning, in an adjoining circle. I shall have a dozen protective charms to hand and plenty of powdered rosemary. We shall start with a lovely demon, a natterjack impling. If that proves successful, we shall move on to a molar.
Natterjack impling. An unadventurous creature that affects the semblance and habits of a dull sort of toad. Muller. Even less exciting than a Natterjack impling. Were that possible? We confused the kitty. He heard the sounds. And he's like, what's that sound, Mom? I am a ferociously tired hunter.
It was a measure of how unobservant this magician was that he quite failed to notice the flame of contempt that flickered in the boy's eyes. He only heard the blandly eager voice.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it very much, sir. Excellent. You have your lenses? Yes, sir. They arrived last week. Good. Then there is only one other arrangement we need to make, and that is... Was that the door, sir? Don't interrupt me, boy. How dare you? The other arrangement, which I will withhold if you are insolent again, is the choosing of your official name. We shall turn our attention to that this afternoon. Bring Lowe's nominative almanac to me in the library after luncheon, and we shall choose one for you together. Yes, sir.
The boy's shoulders had slumped. His voice was barely audible. He did not need to see me capering on my web to know that I had heard and understood. Nathaniel wasn't just his official name. It was his real name. The fool had summoned me before consigning his birth name to oblivion, and now I knew it. Underwood shifted in his chair.
Well, what are you waiting for, boy? This is no time for slacking. You've got hours yet to study before lunch. Get on your way. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
The boy moved listlessly to the door, Gnashing my mandibles with glee, I followed him through with an extra special reverse somersault with octal hit kick. I had a chance at him now. Things were a bit more even. He knew my name. I knew his. He had 6 years' experience. I had 5,010.
Sorry.
That was the kind of odds you could do something with.
Sorry, say that again. Say that again. You breaking up and your camera just went all fucky.
Hold on.
I need you to bless the mic. I need you to bless the stream, Nacho.
Okay.
Please.
Camera's back. And just say that line again.
Okay.
You just got a few more lines to do.
Yep.
Okay. He had 6 years' experience. I had 5,010. That was the kind of odds you do something with. I accompanied him up the stairs. He was dawdling now, dragging each step out. Come on! Get back to your pentacle! I was racing ahead, eager for the contest to begin. Oh, the boots were on the other 8 feet now, all right!
And thus ends Chapter 11 of the Amulet of Samarkand, and fuck!
Fuck. This could have been avoided if Nathaniel had decided, like, hey, you can call me Nate. Because I don't know if that's the same thing.
It's
like,
the same
do
thing.
you need to know the full name? Or can it be a nickname? Or, like...
Generally speaking, it is a full name. So you can utilize nicknames, middle names, titles, or false names if you have a close enough connection to the false name.
This also means...
Yeah, but
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, but it still doesn't stop the fact that he now has Nathaniel's name, and that this could have all been avoided if you told Mrs. Underwood, you can call me Nate.
But he wasn't thinking about it at the time when he originally told her his name. And he didn't think to change that shit when he came into his obsession.
He may not have known. Also, he could have looked at Mrs. Underwood while she was up in the attic getting him, because this means she pulled him from the circle, from the pentacle. She pulled him from the...
No, wait.
She would have found him and pulled him from the pentacle.
Unless she maintained the little traditional... Oh, yeah, no, that's right. She does come into his room. Unless he hid the pentacle.
He would have been standing in the pentacle with him in the center. She would have pulled him out of it, which means she has no magical knowledge. She doesn't know what the pentacle does.
Maybe the pentacle can't be seen by, like, mundane.
Depending.
That is also a thing. Either way, Nathaniel is now officially fucked.
Nope. I would like to point out, though, something out. That, he was allowed to leave the circle because he had already finished giving the order. So he still has power over him.
Yeah, but Bartimaeus now has Nathaniel's name, and on top of that, Bartimaeus is cheering for him to get back inside the pentacle, which means the pentacle is still there. It would have to be in order to talk to the demon, which means either she has no understanding of what it's about, Miss Underwood has no understanding of what the pentacle means, or she can't see it.
Mm-hmm. Like, for all she knows, he could have just been practicing, especially because in that little conversation that he just had with Underwood, Underwood said, hey, you're ready to summon a demon now. Let's start today.
I'm also wondering if he may have been balking at telling her what was going on because he didn't want to get in trouble because she'd tell his master. But something as simple as No, don't call me that here. You can call me Nate.
I think that would have tipped her off something was up.
Yeah, but at that point she may also understand that do not interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
But then again,
I'm in the middle of something, Mom!
But then again, the master would have called and she would have had to explain that to Magician Underwood, who would have been furious.
Yeah. So, because we already get, it's already kind of prefaced throughout the chapters we've read so far that Martha, Mrs. Underwood, understands enough about Magician's magical society, being married to Magician Underwood, that certain matters should never be interrupted, like the conversations with apprentice or work things or actually practicing magic. So she probably knows better than to interrupt those things. However, like what we were talking about before from the previous chapter, if you guys remember the crack in the vase, my mind is going towards, if she does know anything about this, what's to say that he's not doing this for her because there is something else going on, particularly between him and particularly between the Underwoods, and he's trying to get her out.
That could be as well.
Because we have that theory already.
I would like to point something else out too, that I think that Mr. Underwood might be hard of hearing.
Maybe.
Could be.
Or have selective hearing. Because he acted like he didn't hear Martha at all. And then asked for coffee, even though, I don't know. That was odd to me.
He's also being painted... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Based on what we have read of him so far, it would make most sense, the selective hearing.
Yep. He's also being painted as an ordinary wizard, whereas Nathaniel has been painted specifically to stand out.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention Bartimaeus pointing out that Underwood is considered second-rate next to someone like Lovelace. Or even, like, Nathaniel here. Of course, Bartimaeus still is suspicious as to how involved Nathaniel is or how much of all of this Nathaniel has actually done on his own. He still suspects that Nathaniel is in cahoots with at least a different adult in the situation.
Yeah. We also
real quick, what? What's your theory?
What if it's his art teacher?
Ooh. Or
think about it. Think about it. If it's the art teacher, she would be the one that would for sure be able to show him how to make the correct sigils needed for it.
That is
and why
true.
He was pretty confident in the fact that there was nothing wrong with it. Like, he was shocked at first, but then he was like, they are sound, they are right, you are still bound by them.
That is also true. And she is the only other person besides the Underwoods to know his name. Well, except now Bartimaeus, of course.
Yeah.
We also have a reference for the flowers and what they represent.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Dead flowers for the husband, but fresh flowers for Nathaniel.
Yeah. Which means
the romance is dying.
Not dying.
Pretty much.
The romance with the husband is dead, but she has love for the kid.
Which brings me back to the theory of Nathaniel doing this for Mrs. Underwood to try to probably pull them out of whatever situation is currently going on with Mr. Underwood.
I will be right back. My cat is meowing.
Okay. So,
especially just now in this chapter, he's further being painted as, and again, I'm sorry for making this reference, Mr. Dursley from the Harry Potter series. It seems like as this story progresses, he's becoming more and more inadequate as a legitimate magician because he's not aware of Bartimaeus' presence like a magician should be when an unfamiliar presence is in his domain.
Despite the fact that he's got the contacts to see.
Yeah. And he is basically being a little bit more egotistical in this chapter in terms of what would be stereotypically a 1950s husband would be, or a 1950s granddad, or granddad grew up in the 1950s with those cis male heteronormative attributes.
Mm-hmm.
He's out for control and potentially power, but he can't get the power because he's not good enough. He is, however, a control freak.
Yep.
But he's already been shown.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, as was stated with Bartimaeus and how he was looking around thinking this is second rate. So it's making me wonder if Nathaniel knows his master isn't very good, or if he's not allowed to interact with other magicians too much, and it's kind of like the whole child mentality, oh, my mentor is better than your mentor, because they don't have a frame of reference to know.
So, a thought, because there was that encounter with the 13-year-old girl and her little posse. What if there is a deeper connection with her and Nathaniel is actually somehow involved with her? That would explain...
Go ahead.
It would explain her interest in the amulet. Mm-hmm. What if Nathaniel was testing Bartimaeus as to how loyal he can actually be into doing the tasks given to him?
It's his sister. Dun, dun, dun! Look, all we know is that...
mention of a sister, but...
Well, remember, we don't know for sure, because all we know is that Nathaniel's parents dropped him off when he was 6 years old, and stripped of everything. So, for all we know, they could... Wait. She said they was 13.
Yeah, she's Nathaniel's... the older. It could have still happened, maybe they couldn't afford a second child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking more of maybe she wasn't selected, how that one tutor was no, I was never chosen.
Right. So, because I'm interested with all this going on now, if we'll see another appearance of that girl.
Yeah. Only time is
because I figure we would. Yeah.
Only time is going to tell. And guess what?
We're out of time?
We'll end up having to get to that next week.
Yeah.
As we create our buffer episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, we want to thank you very much for joining us for episode 27 of the Idiot Book Nook podcast and chapter 11 of the Amulet of Samarkand, the first book in the Bartimaeus Trilogy. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can follow Lady Punnet at lanktr.ee/paulina.avalon. You can follow The Reading Dragon at lanktr.ee/thereadingdragon, and you can follow myself at lanktr.ee/blazewing2010. If you'd like to take a look at our podcast feed and or leave us a voicemail message that we can play in a viewer/listener feedback episode, you're more than welcome to at anchor.fm/idiot-book-nook, and you can check out our website at idiotbooknook.wordpress.com. So,
yay!
For episode 27 of the Idiot Book Nook, I'm Blazewing.
I am the Reading Dragon.
I'm Lady Punnet.
And we'll see you in episode 28 and chapter 12, titled Nathaniel.